Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, has everyone had a chance to read through the minutes from May 15th? I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move.
Michelle, a second.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Highway report, Randy.
Okay, we'll start out with the good news. If anybody hasn't noticed, they started paving from Wells to Speculator. It is called heat in place paving. It is heating the 6 inches of asphalt and then leaving it there, but it all melts together smooth. They have a paver that paves it smooth, and then later on, when they're all done, they will put an 1.5 inches of hot mix over the top. So it's gonna come slowly. They've made it halfway up the hill today, so it's 3 to 4 weeks, I expect. They also swept the roads today. I got that notification this morning through the village because they're looking for water.
Yeah, somebody should mention to the state that they need to water before they sweep.
Exactly.
Well, they were looking for water this morning at 6:05.
I went by when they were doing down and you couldn't see.
Oh, really?
You couldn't even see where the sweeper was.
Yeah, when they do it out in front of my house, it sounds dry.
It is. We are started, the paving company that we use started paving on, for the county today. So we're the next 2 weeks helping them. And then they will come down this way, and they're up north now. And we did it Long Lake last Thursday. So it's gonna start north and work south. So you'll see our paving probably in late June, early July, as usual. Right around that. Mowing, we have done some of the mowing. In the bills, you may see a little lawnmower and a weed whacker. I actually had the employees complaining that they didn't have enough to keep everybody busy while they were doing it. So we wouldn't want them standing around for a matter of a couple $100. Now they can get more lawns, the whole thing done in a day. The problem was 3 guys would go out, 2 would be mowing, 1 would be weed whacking. And mowing got done and 1 would go weed whack with the other weed whacker, and now you still had 1 guy standing there. So they made a suggestion that we get more, so we did.
It's good to have backup.
We started our ditching today of Page Street and in that area. And we had one little hiccup this weekend. Betsy let me know that the cleaning lady said the health center had the fans blowing on inside and it was 80 degrees in there. So, and more surprisingly is all the lock boxes were off of the thermostats. So, what? The thermostat lock boxes were left in the default code, which was 000, and obviously somebody figured that out. And then went in this Friday, I assume, and tried to turn the air conditioning on. And when they did that, all it did is turn the fans on because the air conditioners were shut off manually, so they didn't fight. We had this problem before, heating one end of the building and air conditioning at the other end. So although they felt they did something, all they did is turn the fans on and move the hot air around. So Saturday afternoon I went back down there and adjusted all the thermostats, reset the code, and now myself and 1 person knows the code. And the air conditioners are set up to be running, keep it at 70 degrees during the day and 75 max at night. And it's the best I can do until they try to figure out the code again. But I don't know why they didn't just make a phone call to myself or Betsy and say, hey, it's hot in here, we need air conditioning. That would have been what should have been.
I got a lockout call.
Right,
Yes,
that's right.
actually,
So
I
that-
got a lockout call from one of the employees, Friday night referred it to Betsy.
Lucky we have an extra key.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's all I have. Oh, do I have time, Betsy?
Yes.
I will be attending the conference in September for the Highway Association, the annual conference, and schooling for 3 days, blah, blah, blah. And in that, would stay at the hotel of choice that they hold this at, but I am going, myself and 2 other highway superintendents are going to go bring our campers and stay at the campground at the Turning Stone rather than spending the $180 a night for the rooms there.
Good decision.
Thank you.
It'll be cheaper than.
That's very nice.
Stay away in the casino, will be.
Shush. We only have good luck at the casino. That's it.
Okay, so I guess we'll have to move on a little bit. I don't really want to open up the public hearing because it's not supposed to be till 7:15. So I'll just scoot on by that and just mention the state campsite update. We really have no new information. At county last week, we had conversation and I was told to go ahead and have the town of Lake Pleasant set up a public hearing or a public meeting. Unfortunately, the school, we can't use it because naturally it's being renovated. So I've got to call into Brian Wells. He's the supervisor in Indian Lake, and hoping that maybe we could get the movie theater, which would be more centrally located anyway, because people are going to come from all around the county. Once we have a date set, then we will contact DEC and see who we can't get there, but we will let everybody know well in advance to try to get as many people packed in there as we can. You know, they promised us they would have the information by mid-April, then they promised us they would have their decision by mid-May, then it was June. We can't keep waiting like this. This is ridiculous. So they need to make a decision, and I'm sure they've made a decision, but they just don't want to tell us what their decision is, more than likely. So that's where we stand with the campsites. Next is BTI. It's been completed. Vi did have concerns. She thought maybe we got started too late, which we probably did get started about a week and a half later than should have been because of all the rain. The water was flowing so heavy it would just wash away the product. So they had to stall out until the levels went down and the water slowed down a bit before they could start. But they're concerned because normally they're usually like medium size, and this year there were a lot of little ones. So there's a couple of streams that we've run out of time. At this point, everything is so dry, the streams aren't really running anymore. So they did quit last week, so they're done for this year. The only thing I can say is, and I think Randy and Neil brought it up last meeting, or Don, that think about how it was back in the 80s before we started doing BTI, right? It was Karen. So we did have a terrible week and a half, 2 weeks, but they're gone.
Yeah, every season is going to vary.
Yeah.
And the efficacy of these applications. As it is, it's part science and part luck.
Yep.
Anyway. But you know they're out there, they've identified the right spots. It's just timing, like you say, the rain. This was not a great year, but seeing some of the comments on Facebook and so on about tossing the program, I think is way over the top.
Right.
And as you say, was either you or Randy, just go up to Perkins Clearing and see the difference between the communities and where, the hotspots of streams will charge the treat and those places that do not. And this was a really tough year.
Yeah.
And those places were unlivable.
Yeah.
And we'll
So-
go at it again next.
So Vi did tell me that we have 2 different kinds, the regular kind, and then we have the white-legged ones, which are the second hatching. They're white legs. Don't ask me if they actually have white legs, but that's what they actually
They
call
do,
them.
they do.
They do, okay, so you know.
Yeah, I got bit by a couple tonight.
Okay. So, and we pretty much have enough product for next year. We might have to buy a couple of new sprayers, but that's it. Everything else is good. Next is the RO system. We still have 5 minutes. Okay, the RO system, Bill has installed Waller's and the Blennis systems. He was having a bit of a problem with the Blennis system, so he did come back up to work on it about a week ago. I haven't heard anything, so I'm thinking that everything is running smoothly. The phone hasn't been ringing, so that's a big plus. Community gardens, we are in the process of getting a price on a new fence, which I had mentioned last time, and we'll be looking for volunteers. But June has a very close friend to the family that actually owns a fence company, can get it a lot cheaper than we can get it at Lowe's or Home Depot. So we're actually waiting on him, but it looks like it's probably going to be a 5 or 6 foot fence around the garden. So at this point, I don't have any prices to give or no sign-up sheet for volunteers, but I'll hit you up. Karen,
Sure.
library report.
Absolutely. Well, I'm here today to introduce to you, and some of you may already know her, is Katrina Cody, who is our new library director.
Welcome aboard.
Effective. See, somebody So we are very excited. She started today. Today is her first day. She'll be working with Sherry until Sherry takes, I know her last day is the 30th of June, but she may be taking some of her comp time ahead of time if she has comp. So I just wanted to introduce her to all of you, tell her how excited that we all on the board are about having her on board, and I think you're going to see some innovative visions that she has as we continue to grow better, and I won't use the word bigger, because I'm always thinking bigger. Because initially we wanted the courtyard arrangement here, but it was cost prohibitive at the time, but hey, you never know.
Yeah.
So Katrina?
Yeah.
Welcome
excited.
aboard. You're
Yeah,
excited.
looking
Good.
forward to it.
Great.
Yeah.
Us too.
We're excited. We didn't think it was going to be so easy so quick. We thought
Wow.
this was going to be tough, right?
It worked out very well. We were all very
There's a
pleased.
wealth of talent in the community. We just
Absolutely.
mine it out.
Absolutely.
Line it out.
Okay. Okay. So next, I'm going to start new business, and then we'll have to stop in about 3 minutes.
You don't want to keep Kathy until.
No, right? No. After we open the...
Right.
Yeah, we want to open them. Okay, so the standard workday, Steph had me send you guys all a copy of the resolution that the state does. We basically just have to approve it. Did you want to say anything, Steph, or did you want me to? Here. Is that what you want?
Yeah, so this is the resolution that it's the comptroller's resolution, but you all just have to pass your own resolution saying that you are in agreement with it. So this is only for Judge Vischer. He was the only one that we needed to do this for this year. And no one else was changing terms or anything like that, so you don't even have to fill out your sheet. Everyone's good for another 8 years. Or unless you change your term or your duties.
Okay, so that's great.
You don't have to
Okay.
figure it out.
So does someone want to, okay. Who seconded it?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No, it's just a standard thing that we
It
have
is.
to do.
Yeah, okay.
there is.
All in favor?
Okay.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, so it's 7:13. Okay, youth recreation. Rochelle, I'll turn that over to you.
So the youth rec schedule for summer has been set and should be going home any day with the kids. I don't believe it came home today yet, but we did run an ad for youth rec aides in the paper for 2 weeks, and we did receive 2 applications, both very qualified, very good candidates for the job that we're pretty excited about. So I think we are definitely interested in moving forward with hiring both of them. We are waiting. We need to get certification from both of them. They are both certified lifeguards and EMTs. Not EMTs, sorry, CPR. And yeah.
So what's the next step for hiring?
Well,
Motion.
we've already moved it at the last meeting. The board already approved for you two to hire them. It's in the
Okay.
minutes.
So the only
So-
thing we need to discuss is, we discussed the wages as well.
Yep.
Right.
So we're all
And
set.
whatever the adjustment is, because we left that wiggle room in there for you
Yes, we
guys.
did.
Right,
Okay,
16 to 18, so that was all pre-done and
Good.
approved.
Then we're
So
good.
you guys are all set? Okay.
excellent.
Okay.
And I
Lock
have
them, lock 'em
Great.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
quickly.
definitely.
that's a home run for sure.
Yes.
Okay, it's 7:15. It's time to open the public hearing for the short-term rentals. And at this time, I'm going to turn that over to Kathy to start with her report.
Okay, well, the town of Lake Pleasant asked various individuals from a variety of backgrounds and knowledge to get together and discuss short-term rentals in the area and pros, cons, concerns, problems that have been had, bonuses to the community. And basically, the committee of 7 came up with 3 different pieces. It's in your packet. One of them is, the first thing that everybody was really excited about was the Good Neighbor poster. We found that looking around at a variety of places all across the country, and it was basically a way to let the visitors know some basic information. So with a little push-pull adjustments, we came up with one that fit, brought it to the town. They loved it. The second thing that we discussed was that there's laws out there that are full of minutia. We wanted to focus basically on the safety, not just for the community, but for the guests and for the wildlife. So we are basically doing a simple registration that asks some basic questions of the property owner so that in case of an emergency, their guests can be assured that they are set. I've heard some criticisms that we don't really need to do this, and I appreciate the fact that there's some groups that are getting together and really making sure that there's communication, but it's not going to hit every short-term rental owner. So this is a way for us to make sure that everybody's experience is as positive as it is at some. So over the course of, from last September of 22, we started meeting in October. And from there, we got together for a bit. We brought our first information to the town after our initial meetings, and the town had some input here and there. Meetings were announced at every town board meeting. Reports were given at every town board meeting. We invited public comment. The report was given to the town board on March 6th. After some suggestions, it was brought back to the committee in April. A few delays with the attorney and some information, and the final was brought to the town board May 1st. And then due to some dates, due to registering it, the law with the state, we had one more change. So what you have in front of you is the final law and the registration form.
Okay. So at this time, is there anyone that wants to speak, has any questions, something that we may not have covered so we can clarify it tonight?
What's the registration fee?
$50.
$50, and then what is it?
Section 7 addresses the fact that the town can address that on a yearly basis. The $50 was thought by the committee to cover the cost of printing colored laminated posters for each place and the need, if it arises, for the those code enforcement officer to arrive, then that would pay his time.
And that would only be if there was a complaint filed?
Right, so most of this application, people could answer, like the carbon monoxide detector, or is the septic system in alignment with occupancy? Is there ways of verifying that? I mean, you can't really get a complaint from somebody on that. But if they're gonna, if the
You mean for us to verify or for
Well,
the?
whoever is going to monitor this program.
Well, that's just it. We assiduously avoided the pre-inspection, we don't trust your answers sort of stance here. We won't be sending out, correct me if I say anything wrong, Ken. We won't be sending any inspector out to private properties unless we've had complaints from either neighbors or renters of problems that would belie the answers on your sheet. Anyone who's getting into this program or already in the Airbnb or short-term rental has got to be aware of the fact they might be putting extra pressure and so on septics in places that don't have sewer. There are contractors who will come out and check those for you and so on, but we did not want to be a part of that. We want to trust but verify if we have problems.
So as the application stands, it's just like an on your honor.
Exactly.
Correct.
Absolutely.
All those questions are, there's no swearing at the bottom, but we assume that, you're going to abide by these things, yeah.
Right.
And maximum occupancy of the building, like who decides that?
Well,
Usually,
it
usually
depends on the bedrooms.
Yeah, it depends on the bedrooms.
Well, because then you can have a pull-up couch, and there can be some
Most,
because I have a lot of these, so I just want to be specific, so I know how to go about filling these out.
fair enough. I think that don't most properties have a number of bedrooms?
Well, there's a CO that came with the original house, right?
Some of them don't.
That's not very updated.
Some of them don't.
When in doubt, you would check with Steve Page. If you're not sure of what your true certified occupancy was, hasn't changed because you got into the rental business, right? It is what it is.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know what my house is.
No, I'm not saying you,
Yeah.
off the top of your head you will. It's just, again, this is part of that $50 is we're anticipating some extra traffic to Steve, phone calls, visits, and so on, and hopefully not a whole lot of true full inspections that would come via complaint.
And truthfully, if there was a septic complaint, Steve would not be addressing that. That's the Board of Health.
After the fact, but I mean, a question before, like,
Right.
what do you think my
No, I
maximum
mean, if there was a
occupancy?
complaint.
Afterwards, it's,
I mean, everybody posts it on their Airbnb listing if that's how they're publicizing their property, you know what I mean?
right,
Like,
but I've seen some pretty wild
that's
numbers.
why I'm wondering.
Yeah, and I'd stay away from those because you may stress your own property for not just your wastes, but for your solid wastes, for your parking, for your neighbors, et
For your
cetera.
neighbors, it raises the water table.
Sure.
Oh, I don't pack them in, I just want to know how we can, be accurate on this. And the water, if we answer no, the water hasn't been tested, is that going to be a requirement? I mean, is there going to be?
No, it's still on you.
That's on you.
That's
I
on
mean,
you.
You can say no and continue to do business with, just say Airbnb if that's, whomever.
Okay.
But those sort of answers may end up filtering down to your guests that it's not tested water. I mean,
How would that happen?
I suppose when you answer these things, these are public documents. If
Where
someone,
would these be filed? Like, where would these be
Town
available
hall.
to the public?
well, I'm saying anything's available to the public that's in town hall if they FOIL it, right? If they fill out a freedom of information request. I just assume, again, this is a business arrangement between you and 4 strangers or 6 or 8 strangers. They're going to ask certain questions or not. I'm sure you're a very reliable landlord and you're going to give honest answers. But we don't want to be in that matrix because, again, we're not at the very end of the thing. If you flip it over, we're not certifying these properties. We're registering these properties. We're trying to get some cursory, small first handle on this. There will be, I don't know when you think it might be, there will be a state law coming down the pipe.
It's in committee right now.
Yeah,
And don't get me wrong, I think this is great. I
No,
really do think this is
it's a
great.
first swing.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting to gather information that you really not going to use, right? Not going to use. Yeah.
Well, we're just not going to punish the landlords. We need to know, and hopefully, if I were renting it, I'd want to know if the water was safe to drink and get potable water. I mean, the landlord should be telling you that.
I mean, worst case scenario, it's basically, the registration form was set up for people to think about things that they would want somebody to think about if they were renting the property. Most of it is common sense things, but little things slip, like tested water. I mean, who knows where the leach field is in relationship to the well, to, all of those things. Some of these camps are kind of old. And I think it was more of a way for people to look at the list of things that would be safe, that the railings, the fire extinguishers, when were they last checked to see if there was a date? It just kind of made people think about, what should I be looking at for the safety of my guests and my neighbors?
Right, you should have your well water tested every year anyway, whether you're.
And that can be done through soil and water. You can get the packet from soil and water and do
It's
it.
easy to do, it's not expensive.
And they send it.
They send it to Utica?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other
A
questions?
year ago, when we started on this, I thought we needed to, I think everyone up here thought so, but I was really hoping that we would have to remember me saying how many times, this is something the county should be doing, or this is someone else should be doing, so we don't have to. And it's kind of been, like, what's the bird that sticks her head in the sand? It just, no one wanted to, but everyone knew we needed to address this and at least a registry. I gotta tell you, a year ago, and I was in the rental business a long time, I was off by 3/4 of what I thought we had. Yeah, there was way tons.
And I'm also wondering how, and don't get me wrong, I think this is great. I think we need to have this. I think you have to have a local contact. If somebody's house is burning
Very
down, you need to
important.
be able to call them. I think this is very good that we're finally going to get a handle on this. How are you going to flush them all out? Like, how are you going to do it? You want Airbnb and
Time.
Yeah,
And there is, if people choose to do that and not be upfront, there is a provision for a penalty per month of not registering.
right.
Right, and if we have something even this lax in place before the state comes with theirs, that may give us a little bit of a head start on not having to have the state come down with laws that apply to the whole state, like Lake George and Lake Pleasant. will have
One
to
size
follow
fits all.
One size fits all. So
other towns and
we're trying to get ahead of it a little bit.
So this will supersede what the state
No.
comes out with? No.
No,
The state's gotta do what they wanna do.
Yeah, but
There's that.
Maybe they won't make it a one-size-fits-all proposition when the state comes down with it.
But the other thing is that the state law has nothing in it about safety. The last proposal that I read, there was nothing in it about safety, and to us, that was the
I don't know.
prime consideration.
truth is, and I'm jaded, cynical and jaded, if you can be both. But when the state gets into one of these things, whether one size fits all, it usually means a revenue producer for the state.
Right.
We already have the New York State Fire and Building Code, and everyone inspects to that level now. That's a good thing. When you get down into the weeds with this stuff, it's a little harder to govern, to administer. And I'm a big believer in home rule and local rule. And this was a chance. We're told the village government may not go along with this, even though the village was represented in the committee, because they're waiting for the state law. I don't know what that means exactly, but it could be a while. Happens to be a while with the state on a lot of things.
I like the idea of it as well, but I would like some teeth in it. I don't think just as a means of registering does very little. I mean,
Well, by the second inspection, so we have a complaint and we have an
well,
inspection.
some items you won't get a complaint. Some things are insidious that you can't see, that we can't tell, but you don't have long-lasting effects afterwards. And it's post, time to make a complaint at that point. So,
On what
well,
arena?
septic systems,
Yeah.
untested water, you might not know that right away. It may
Mhm.
manifest itself years down the road, or sometime to these poor individuals. So I think the idea is good. I think they should be regulated. This it may be a good start if that's what I'm getting from you. We're just trying to do
That's what we were
something.
doing. And
But I
then,
do think you need some impetus for people to be truthful about it. I mean, there's very little for somebody to say, oh yeah, I have an escape route.
Yeah.
It's run out the door, or head for the nearest window or something.
Right, well, again, if Don, I'll just throw you in, cut me off if I'm saying it wrong. Don and his family have used a few of these things outside the area
Mhm.
and got to one, clean, this, that, until you looked upstairs where the kids were gonna be. And Grandpa said, wait a minute.
Yeah, there's an attic converted to a bunk room that has a narrow stairway going up and windows not small enough
Right.
for
anybody to get out.
Yeah,
If there's
That
a
would generate
fire,
a complaint.
yeah, if
I
there's
can
a
see
fire, the people are gonna be trapped.
Right.
And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to just look at it and say, oh, we gotta do something. Maybe we gotta put different windows in or something. You know, it's part of it, but this can be changed.
a program
Like
like
this
this
can be added on.
can be added, exactly.
Right.
The original hope was to have this in place and register by July 1st. Unfortunately, due to timing,
Regulations, yeah.
we're not going to be able to have the registration until the fall. So what we were hoping was to have one whole summer with this in place, see what kind of numbers we got, see if there were any problems, see where it needed to be adjusted. And I'm as frustrated as anybody that we're not going to be starting this July because
It's sort of try and
this would
run.
have been, yeah.
that was the goal. So can this be updated? Can this be amended? Can this be strengthened? Absolutely. I was kind of hoping we would have data from this summer to see what we needed to do.
Can we get those good neighbor posters before?
You will, everybody that, oh, yeah, sure.
Randy's looking at you.
I would also like to strongly suggest that for any of these places, the address visible for the emergency services.
Thank you.
I would like to see that mandatory, because for those of us working either in the SVAC or the fire department, some of these places, what the owner may think is prominently displayed is not necessarily so. So they've actually come out with ones that are approved. The numbering system is 4 inches tall and it's reflected in the nighttime and so forth. But I would like to see that be a requirement.
The ambulance is selling them right now.
Yeah.
$25.
Are they?
So that's a good
If
thing
you
to
order
know.
by June 30th.
I dinner with Bob Bankovich the other night, and he was saying that you guys were gonna do that.
I'm
So important.
I'm fairly new to this, and I'm fortunate that when I go to drive, somebody is in there going, oh yeah, that's the so-and-so place. It's
That's-
behind the
yeah.
second home on the right here. And
Well,
there's
that stuff's been
absolutely
going on, that whole, past where the old tree was and so on,
Right,
for
I
so
can't
long.
stand it.
It can, and I mean, I'm off the county board for a number of years, and when I was there, it was talked about over and over. And we finally passed this thing because we needed a few things to happen first. Obviously, was the addressing. We didn't have addresses.
Right.
So you need to have addresses assigned, et cetera, et cetera. That took a year or two. But we very much, thanks for coming.
Right.
We very much think that that's a huge factor. And again, these are folks that have stayed, maybe have stayed in your rental property. They're not going to be looking for some of that nuance. We're hoping the landlords will be, as you say,
I
will
don't
be
think you
given.
can help. I don't think
No,
you
no,
can
but
help.
we're gonna push that, and we can add that here.
Yeah, I'd like to see that
Yeah.
mandatory. I think that's important.
I spent February and March and April out doing some political canvassing for a couple of candidates and picking up signatures and so on. I couldn't get over that we have a list, trying to sort of a scavenger hunt. Where's so-and-so?
It's amazing how many people live at 1 Route 30.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, they're made up, but.
Yeah, everybody was really good at first, but then,
There were-
sign
Well,
posts fell
the
down.
signs
and-
aren't there, but I ran into dozens of them that had kind of newish construction, nice places, had 4 inch or more. Snow was covering them. They were way down too low.
Right.
And I think, we don't really care if you're UPS or your Amazon doesn't get there, but
We care
Fire
about
and aerials.
saving people.
You bet.
I think that's important.
Speaking of that, I was on the ambulance corps for 25 years back, started in the 70s. And you knew basically everybody in town. If I was on the ambulance corps now and they gave me your name, 90% of them, I wouldn't know where to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of changing hands.
Yeah, things used to be known as the Reichman House or Charlie John's old house, and
Right.
that's where you went. There were no numbers or anything, but not now.
Yeah, you
So
got
this
something
is
you
definitely going to, oh, Randy, you wanted to say something.
So on this sheet here, the handout, I'm only putting in my peace of mind because of the town's garbage pickup. This past Memorial Day weekend, the dumpster that was out front of, which is always out on Sundays, and on a holiday Monday, it stays out till, we pick it up Tuesday morning. The people in this community, I'll say it that way, filled the dumpster in 6 hours. And then my foreman got a phone call to ask him to come and dump it. And then he ended up dumping it 3 times in the course of the weekend, from Sunday to Monday. This also happens, this morning I went to put my garbage in there and I practically had to stand on it to get the lid shut. So it happens on a regular weekend also. The point, what I'm trying to get at is, yes, we increased the number of people coming and using that. My foreman was informed that at their Airbnb, the people that were standing there waiting for him to dump the dumpster so they could put their stuff in it, said that there was a paper on the table when they got there directing them to come and use that dumpster.
Oh, boy.
Now,
been going on for a while.
the simple fact, we'll take the dumpster out. On Monday morning, the dump is open. The very next morning, we also pick your garbage at your household. It's completely ridiculous that we have to dump the garbage dumpster 4 miles, 5 miles down the road from a transfer station 3 times in the course of the weekend.
And that's why we put,
When the dump was
when-
open on Saturday and
Yeah.
on Tuesday.
yeah.
It's ludicrous. I'm sorry. And thankfully, we have a bear-proof one. We solved that problem, but the only problem is, now I have to pay somebody to sit here and monitor the dumpster all weekend long.
Right. If you can't close the tops, it's not bear-proof anymore.
Correct. And on this, it says
Second sheet.
that the dump is only
Everything
open
is
on
there.
Saturday.
Everything is there. 2 sides.
Transfer is open until 4, okay.
I was,
See, we hashed this out. We wanted to make, most people transfer over on Saturdays or Fridays. No? No, huh? All right, then we need to make an adjustment on that.
We need to somehow inform them to go to the transfer station.
Right.
Well,
The owner
we
of the
tried,
short-term rental-
but-
The biggest reason that dumpster was put out there is people were leaving on Sunday
Sundays,
nights.
yeah.
yeah,
And the garbage would be screwed for the crows and the bears and everything else before Monday morning.
Right.
If these people are staying here and using it, tell them to go to the transfer station.
Transfer station is open. I think I think we changed this to Monday is open until 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday. I'm gonna check because I think we made that change.
And that's only in the summertime, right?
Right, and then in the wintertime, they're not open on Fridays.
Yeah, but
They are
I'm
open
gonna have to pull up this may be an error, because I know we hashed that out and made a change. So if it said, transfer station is open until 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday, I think that change was made, but I don't know why this isn't.
Okay.
I'll check that out.
Then the next thing, and I know that we have town ordinances, and I've asked the board to change them and everything else, but the parking when it comes to snow plowing
Oh.
at all these lovely Airbnbs, the people that own the houses know where to park and where not to park and where we plow and so on. But when they come up with 14 snowmobile trailers to rent one little house, guess where all those trailers are? Out in the road. And we've had incidences, and then we've also paid for vehicles to be fixed.
Oh.
It's ridiculous.
So that's where a complaint to the,
Sheriff's Department.
complaint
Right.
to
So
the,
I call the sheriff's department now and say, hey, there's a vehicle on, let's just use Fawn Lake Road, a which is the most common down at the end of the parking lot, because how convenient, there's a great big snow plowed out area that I can park my snowmobile trailer in, and I can go with my vehicle back to the house. And then they start searching things, and this past winter, the most common answer was, well, we'll get it out of there. And then 4 hours later, when we're back 2 more times, we're still not getting it out of there. So yes, is that a sheriff's department thing to have it
We
towed?
do. We do.
I
have a-
get it, but it really is a nuisance on this.
Park in the designated areas do not park on roadways and lawns. I mean, how much clearer can you be? So, that's,
This hasn't been posted yet.
No, of course
No.
I mean,
not.
the
No.
whole baby
We're
was-
trying to
that's what we're
anticipate.
hoping, you know?
We're trying
Yeah.
to anticipate all of the
Yeah, no.
variables.
Is there, I know that it says roadways, I mean, I don't know how you would say vehicles to be towed or whatever, but,
oh,
I mean, it's a real pain in the butt for these
In
guys.
the town's parking ordinance, that is the teeth, comes pretty far down the,
Get way down.
yeah,
Like the last
I
one.
laugh because it's true. But, calling the sheriff, making note of it, making complaint, but if you're sending out guys on our clock, and it's the second time it's not there, I think that's the time to call O'Connor's, and we'll eat the bill, and it'll go back to the property owner, because we can't get into this. It's the same thing. These are rentals that we very much hope will be done in winter as well as summer, all good. But, as you know, all of the winter stuff comes with more parking problems.
Right.
I have no problem
Parking
with
is
them.
a huge problem.
Well, I have no problem as a taxpayer with the landlord agreeing to have people park on their lawn. You know, that'll be up to them between.
On their lawn.
Yeah, on what it says, do not park on roadways and lawns. You may have to do in the winter, you may have to say, oh yeah, well, sure, you got 3 Escalades bringing, with 3 trailers and this. Well, you're gonna have to pull it up in that wedge, and they're gonna have to, concern themselves with that, but they can't be in the roadway. Just can't.
And I don't think it hurts to be specific on this, about
Well-
why, like, you do the plowing, I mean, I know this is not the
Right.
time to like question and answer how to alter this, but, I mean, it doesn't hurt to put that on there, we need to keep the roads clear and,
Road's gotta be clear,
Yeah.
yeah.
If the plow can't get through or turn around, then it makes it tough for the ambulance,
Well, that'd be pretty problematic for everyone.
everybody.
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's a safety issue.
yeah, and should be clear on there to people so they understand why, I mean, if it wasn't already clear, why it should be
Well,
clear.
there again, I'm trying to attack this, that we don't have any rogue landlords, we probably do, but it's just that we don't have any that I know of, and that if they've been in the winter rental business for a number of years, we're just getting into this to address short-term rentals, but if they've been in this for a while, they already know the plow comes by, they already know all these things, so if they've been renting
Yeah, but
their
I'm saying
place.
this is posted for the guests.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes, and that's why I say, we're just trying to let them know what's expected, but the landlords have to take the responsibility. And when we have complaints then they become a problem, landlord. And then we will inspect them and we will fine them.
Or
And perhaps when the landlords see the sign, they may add some things on for themselves. Separate things like parking in the road in the wintertime and, to address the potential problems.
Well, I would just ask Lisa,
Yes.
you've been renting, you must have something taped up inside the cabinets or something or whatever, don't you?
I'm very specific with my guests. I'm very hands-on and I talk a lot to, there's a lot of interaction between myself
Because
and
it's
my
your
guests.
property, it's your
Yeah.
investment.
Yep, and I manage for 5 others, so it's my job to make
Okay.
sure the other people's properties are handled.
So there's already a fair amount of.
Now I do have.
literature.
This is my good friend Nancy, we do have house rules and stuff like that.
Sure.
But, I think it hits a little harder when it's like, coming from somebody other than me. You know
From
what
a
I mean?
municipality,
Yeah,
sure, yeah, I
exactly.
agree.
So I think it doesn't hurt to, I can
So
say.
you don't have to be the bad guy so much.
Well, I can say it till I'm blue in the face, and I can say it nicely, but it doesn't hurt to say, listen, we are trying to do a job, we're trying to provide service here,
Yeah.
keeping the roads cleared, keeping it so the ambulances can get through, help us do our
They are
job. Like, I don't
documents.
think it hurts to
Mm-hmm.
specify
but
that.
not for law or
Absolutely.
the registration.
So you own some and manage some for others.
Yeah, I had to get my broker
Missed
license to do that, so now I can
There's
legally
nothing
manage for others.
So, one last thing before this, it was right after Thanksgiving, Second Estates. I'm driving around the roads and I see a gentleman putting a culvert
Right.
into the ditch. And I said, excuse me, what are you doing? And this gentleman says, I'm building a snowmobile trail. I rented this house for the winter. I said, well, you can't put that there because it's going to obstruct the spring runoff when the snow melts and everything else. And oh yeah, by the way, it's too high. The plows are gonna push it around. And he says, well, why can't I? I have to be able to access the house. I said, that's what the driveway's for. Well, they don't want it on the blacktop.
Oh, the owner doesn't want the stubs.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And I said, well, that's not our town problem. We can't have that.
Sorry.
And then, of course, I drive away, and then a week later, one of my guys plowing says, we just peeled up some black thing. Well, sure enough, he put it back in.
Oh, see, he
Well, now
deserved
it was
it.
in pieces,
Right.
and, we took it out, and the ditch filled with snow.
Plow wasn't having any trouble with it, I'm sure.
It's all these things that you just can't possibly imagine that these,
Well, it's a
Restaurant,
television kind of, I paid $5,000 for this.
And you're gonna run into instances like this.
Of course.
There's all kinds of people and they're trying to make life easier for themselves and they're not really thinking of people around them, which is the whole idea of this, we're trying to get, in place. You're just gonna have to stay on them for that kind of stuff. That's just ridiculous.
And I mean, if you think, if you see those things, you'll have a list of who's the local contact. I mean, I mean, especially me, I would want to know if this was happening at one of my properties. I think most people would not turn a blind eye to that, you know what I mean? And you might just not, I'm here. A lot of people are not here.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
So they might just need a heads up.
Well, that's what we were forewarned.
Parking too.
Yeah.
Sure, but we were forewarned of absentee, out-of-town people buying some dilapidated houses. Contractors and artisans are happy that now they're going to get fixed up. And, people think, oh, there's more traffic and so on. Well, you start hearing that out-of-town absentee, and man, that just gives me the willies, being someone who rented rooms to people off the road. And I would feel terrible if there wasn't someone in that house, because something's always a brewing, If you have a local manager, you've got it covered. If there are people who do property management around here, and whether it's the actual removal of snow or just calling the right person to do it. But without some law rule that says you have to have that, it seems like it's the Wild Wild West.
Well, that's why we want the owner's phone number too.
Yeah.
That's why we want the owner's phone number too. If there's an absentee owner, say in Connecticut, at 2 o'clock in the morning, everybody's raising hell at his property, you call him up and say, look, this is happening. You gotta take care of it. Or parked in the middle of the road, in a snowstorm. They plow all night long. If somebody's got their trailer car parked down the road, you call the owner.
Now you're gonna require every absentee owner to have a local property manager or local.
No, not
contact.
necessarily.
Somebody
Contact.
a contact.
A contact.
Well,
Contact
this is
number.
say, owner of the property,
We're not,
local contact phone number.
It-
And
they don't have to have that.
No, it doesn't say you have to have a manager. It just, these are the suggested, and we need to have.
But they
local
need,
contact
they need, again, we're back to the basics, but that's something that may get tightened up in the future. They can write none, for local contact, and then they're gonna be getting the phone call.
So it's gonna be on a case-by-case basis as called.
Yeah.
But again, even if you're not in the rental business, you just have a camp here, and you live elsewhere, you live in Connecticut, you live in Jersey, Long Island. To not have someone who can come turn the water off when your pipes burst is pretty dumb. And
That's up to them.
Oh, it is up to them, but you would think most folks would already have some semblance of this in its place, but now you're putting folks in there. And yeah, it'd be nice to have, if there comes a time where it had to be mandated, who knows? I don't know what the state's gonna have in there. If you say, Kath, I don't believe it's gonna be that, but we're trying to steer with a friendly hand all of those short-term rental owners, managers as well, to be responsible and responsive. Just to be clear, there was 7 people on our committee.
Yes.
We had people who were already in this game.
We had one person who was comfortable with zoning, one person who is involved with real estate and community outreach, tourism. We had one person that owns an Airbnb. We had one person who represented the town, one person that represented the village, an attorney, and the final was a person who was a neighbor of short-term rentals to get that perspective.
Yeah,
So it was quite a wide
yeah, it was a
slice.
good heterogeneous group.
I know, I tried to get on it. I was too
You were too late.
I heard it was happening, and I was like,
You may have been in Italy. No, no.
No, I was not. I have a question
If
about
anybody
the fee.
drops out, I'll give you a
Please
call.
let me know, I'd love to.
Is the fee prorated if you start mid-year? So if I start, say, an Airbnb in July, I would still pay the $50 even though the new year kicks in a couple months later?
But whenever you bought it, it would be good for, right, a year from till the.
No,
it's
registration is,
Yeah, but that's right, it's all one time, that's right, sorry.
So
We had to change
September
that.
1st, if I start August 15th, I'm paying $50. I might as well wait the extra 15 days.
uh-huh.
to start my time.
But that's one of the things, I mean, $50 is not that much considering some of the
Some of the towns,
prices I've
yeah.
seen.
But
Okay.
still, it's not prorated, is
No,
basically.
that's enough.
We were trying to keep this simple on our end too. So here's the question. So all of the suggestions I've heard tonight have to do with this. So I've heard parking, garbage, and a visible address. So if we were to proceed tonight with some changes to this, addressing those three things, would that be a step in the right direction?
Yeah, I think since we brought up the garbage thing, that is gonna be a tough one for Sundays, because people check out on Sundays. And
That's the norm, right?
yeah, well, Sundays, but some people rent for 2 days, so they can check out any day. Some people rent for 3, some people rent for a week in the summer. But I have checkouts on every day of the week. My cleaner or myself goes and takes the trash, we put it in my garage, we put it out, she takes it to the dump, whatever. But it's an issue for Sundays, so it's, if there was a solution for Sundays, it might,
Well, if you're a property manager, you can put it out on Monday morning like everybody else.
right, well,
Yeah,
if
she
somebody else
does.
coming in that
She's
day,
responsible.
you can't leave the trash there, so that's why it comes to like I said, it comes to my house or my,
Right, or
cleaner
take it up.
takes it,
yeah.
and we handle it, but, it is a
But
tough thing without.
But if people are
that dumpster
abusing,
is
if,
gone-
yeah, if that
I
dumpster
don't
is
use
gone
that
because
dumpster.
people
We try
are
our best to
abusing it.
keep the dumpster there, it just becomes a
a
hassle when it gets
I get that,
abused.
and I don't use the dumpster, but I'm just saying it might be an issue.
So.
Yeah, we do that for dumpster for the taxpayer.
Once it's
It doesn't
time,
have to be
motion-
there, but, and then they would
Right.
be
So
responsible.
That weekend people.
The
sure.
weekend, yeah.
So, okay.
And trust me, these are bringing a lot of taxes into it, so.
Park in designated areas on your rental property. Do not park on roadways or lawns.
Can I comment about the or lawns?
I'm
Because what
kidding.
happens if the property owner is
That's
saying
fine.
That's what I'm saying.
So
that's
do
there.
not park on roadways.
I would leave it
which-
there.
Yeah, you don't need that.
I think the
anymore.
designated areas covers that.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you just
it
put
makes
do not
streets
park on
clear
roadways,
for-
if they say,
Do not park on roadways. Well,
Make streets clear
there's
for
some people that
emergency vehicles.
encroach on their neighbors.
Yeah.
That was what I was hearing. They park on my lawn because
that's
there's
different.
not enough parking in their area. So that's how lawns got in there. Visible address. Where does this go?
But in that case, though, that neighbor has the phone number.
They do
right? So
now.
They can deal with that.
They will.
They do now, but
Yeah.
before they didn't. They
Right.
just
No,
could
that's
fume and
perfect.
fuss.
So it's kind of,
You're right.
to Lisa's point though, I agree, do not park on roadways, need to, whatever you said, keep it open for emergency vehicles and snow plows. Some kind of clarification. Because, if I was a renter and I have rented plenty of Airbnbs,
Roadway
I see other
parking.
people on roads, because they're local people,
Mhm.
but they know to move their car before they go to bed at night. I'm
Is
gonna think I'm gonna be able to park on the road,
Illegal.
so.
Roadway parking is illegal?
Is it?
No.
Darn. Blocks.
Yes, for certain months of the year.
It's ill advised in the winter.
blocks emergency.
Yeah, it is.
We have a town law that says no parking on roadways
There you go.
from December 1 to April.
Yeah, winters, yeah.
Something.
So roadway parking blocks emergency vehicles and is,
I don't know if you gotta get into all that.
Do not park on
Park on the
road.
roadway.
okay, do not park on roadways, fine.
Town of
So-
Lake Pleasant has a parking ordinance, and
Okay, so then we're up to visible address.
That's number 9 on your other sheet.
Yeah, it
So
is.
maybe you could just put there, like, the requirement is 4-inch reflective.
On the registration form?
Or
Is the,
maybe the question is location of your visible address for emergency services, because then that way you know that they have it versus a yes or a no.
Yeah, and we have to, as a community, irrespective of the STR law, we have to do a better job. That we've got to make them high and visible. We've got to get, because we do a lot of winter visits. The ambulance goes out a lot in the winter. We got to get it visible 365, reflective notwithstanding, but just get it higher on your house, get it higher on your pole.
Well, it's also for the renter to be able to find the right property.
There's so much.
Like even my house, when I have guests, they end up pulling
So
down
the
somebody
law doesn't
else's
need to be
driveway, even though I have a
We have
number.
a lot of
We
our
just need to
streets
get
are
the
darker.
registration form
They
based on the
rise, you know, after sunset. It's just so many good reasons. Again, it seems trivial, but it's, your Amazon guy, your UPS guy, they'll all thank you, but we're doing it for the main reason.
yeah, I've been
Yep.
schooled.
okay, so, so instead of is the address, are you aware that is-
Maybe that's just enough.
is there a law about what's the background on that for emergency services? Is there
But it's a county law that doesn't have much teeth. But we started with making sure we all had an address.
Okay,
And that
yes.
was very strong, and then the funding eventually ran out for,
Yeah.
all the private little streets.
Oh, yeah.
The right-of-ways, I owned one, and you get to name it, but that's about it. But it gives those guys, oh, well, where's Ruby Lane? And there were maps made, some of them were laminated up in the ambulances and so on. It's just every little, but you can't keep up with it
No,
if the
it's
people
changed.
aren't diligent and things get dilapidated or, that's why we need to publicize things like what's going on here now.
With those
25
signs.
bucks, get a sign, put it up high, be proud, do whatever you gotta do. Again, I don't know if every bit of this has to be in the STR. We need to do this for every house.
Yeah.
Well, this would be a start.
Yeah, no, and that's why we thought of having it,
I think
questioning.
some people would see that at one of these rentals and say, that's probably a good idea, maybe I should get some.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
we'll
when
catch
people come on vacation, they're playing, they're doing things out of the ordinary, they're hurting themselves, probably.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not just going home from work, maybe
Sure.
they're going to bed.
I do have one other quick question. How do they determine max occupancy? How does that work?
Well, addressed a little earlier, if it's not in your certificate of occupancy when you first built your house, or whomever built the house, you could question our code guy for him to get a quick assessment.
So each structure in the certificate of occupancy, I don't know if it's based on
Can be
square
different,
footage,
sure.
has a limit?
Story,
I don't even know
yeah.
what that is for my house.
It might be
Hamco Maps, I think, lists,
a number of bedrooms.
It might.
It might be for bathrooms.
That's usually bedrooms,
I think it's
stories,
Yeah, but a bedroom could be for 1 or 4, I mean.
yeah.
Yeah, but they average it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just because you
Square
have a
footage.
certificate of occupancy for 4 people, if you have 5 kids, they're not gonna kick you out of your house, but it's more of a,
They're usually pretty generous, the
Yeah.
COs are, they're trying to give you an idea. But if you're completely unaware or you don't have that documentation,
Yeah, I'm unaware.
I would check with Steve Page and say, I'm 2 stories, I'm 24 square feet, yada, yada, yada. Again, this is to, at this point, just to get a record. Later down the road, it would really depend on someone complaining about the rental for Steve to be involved with a
Right.
clipboard and coming around. Nobody wants that, but you also, I would hope that occasionally renters who had the experience the town had would say, no, not my grandkids, no, come on, we'll go down to, whatever. Or half the amount of kids can be up here, or whatever, you think is feasible. We gotta start somewhere on this, and that's the trickiest as far as the subjective thing to say, do you think that there's enough escapes? Yeah, 'cause I live in Jersey, do you think there's enough escapes for me and my family is the question. It's
I'm
gonna
just
take
thinking
some
that it
work.
might be nice to actually have it hanging in the house, like most hotels do, max occupancy is such and such, because.
Every
you may have a-
public place has,
Yeah.
commercial places, every restaurant,
Commercial.
every, commercial, yeah. Well, and even municipal buildings, anything that's open that way. This is trying to move this portion of the economy into the light of day. I mean, I didn't sit on the committee, but I was in two camps. I'm all for all these extra rooms, because we can't seem to get a hotel built here.
Right, I
But
agree.
But on the other side, having rented rooms and had my stones crushed by the health department over every little thing.
Right, well,
I'm renting temporary rooms, Betsy rented temporary rooms. We were at this standard, and then you hear all these places down the road, just anything goes. I mean, we don't want a college fraternity to come up and take over your
yeah, that's
house.
what I'm thinking neighbor-wise. I mean, sometimes.
It's a big deal.
It gets to be pretty bad, but not quite to the threshold of, because neighbors sometimes don't want to call every week and say,
course
they
not.
become, that makes good neighbors bad neighbors, and you don't want that to happen. So it would be
But
nice
if-
to have it just kind of,
Rules and good fences make good neighbors.
yeah, contracts make, you know what's expected of you, so. And, I just think about neighbors having, there might be 8 people renting the house, and they decide to ask all their friends, hey, we got this house, why don't you guys come up for a couple of days?
Right.
Happens all the time.
And then there's a
And it
right of way
does.
to the lake with that house, and then all of a
Oh,
sudden
that
you've
gets
got
I've
interesting.
also been
That's
abused there.
why I'm thinking just a listed max occupancy in the house listed somewhere, so the people renting it kind of go,
Well, yeah, I mean,
can't have 15 people in.
That may come later. We don't have good data on that, about your house, your house, your house. We don't have that. But in time, that could be developed.
The whole thing is we were trying to start out softly. We were trying to look at the safety issues. We don't want to sit back and say should have, could have, and we didn't, and there'd be a bad fire or tragedy. We just thought that this was the way to start out. We were hoping once we got this through, which this has been a lot of work on this on the committee doing it. We were hoping that once a year they would get together, the same committee, and sit down and say, okay, how did it go? Talk to Steve and figure out what the issues were. Where do we have to tweak it now? This was the initial plan. If we start too strict in the beginning, people are going to be reluctant to register. They're not going to want to have any part in this. So if we start out like this and then add on as we go,
In cooperation.
if we need to, yeah.
I think we would get more people on board with it.
Right.
That's
You might
really
also
where
be
we were
aware of the
headed.
fact that several of the towns within our county, too, that I know, that rushed out, were ahead of us, rushed out to get one of these things crafted, and both of them got to the 5 or 10 yard line, and they're still stuck in litigation because people push back if the rules are too stringent.
Yes,
Sound right, Dad?
well, yeah. Town of Webb's is very strict. Lake Placid's is becoming stricter by the moment.
I believe it's moratorium.
Like George.
Yeah.
Lake George actually,
Forge,
they dropped.
moratoriums.
Well, that tells you why, though.
Because they
If
can't
you're
control
getting more
it.
and more strict, it's because they need to.
No, they started out strict and then they refused, that they got zoning involved and they said you cannot have a short-term rental in a residential area.
Which took a bunch of them out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we
And
don't
if
want to
you look
lose
at-
them.
Take out.
And that would wipe out pretty much anybody on the lake.
So in this little bird here, we can't seem to get a motel or a hotel built in the commercial areas, but the only places that could have SDRs are in commercial areas.
Right?
Yeah.
They're counterintuitive, and basically what they are, they're moratoriums for the time being
Right.
on these bigger places that are galloping away. But by the way, those places all have a fair amount of duly licensed hotel, motel rooms.
Yeah, just,
We're trying to accommodate more visitors comfortably without hurting their neighbors or without, making these people stay in subpar places, that's all.
Right. Yeah, no, and I think it's great. I think that there's been a lot
wanna work with it,
Well,
because
you
obviously.
would be valuable
Good
assets.
thought.
Keep
One
going.
comment on number 9, I think maybe the tweak on that is, if you want to keep it as a yes or no, is the house number visible for guests and emergency services? Or you can say, what is the location of the house number? Because it's really the house number that's in there, not the
Well,
address.
that's the physical address of the property on the front.
And number 9,
No, I'm just saying that the house on the front, we've got physical address of the property, so that's
so
why,
you're talking about
that's
the
why,
house number, the marker
yes.
outside? Yeah.
That should be same.
Well, she's thinking the whole address, you're talking about 4 numbers.
You're talking about, yeah, you're saying, is the address visible for emergency services? No, you just really want to make sure that the house number is visible
Oh, I see.
for
what you're
emergency
saying, yeah.
services
In
outside.
other words, you don't have to.
I still
put
don't.
You don't have to
street
put Birch
number,
You don't
Road.
want to say
Route
270
80 or
Page
Birch
Street, you
Lane.
just want to
Oh,
say 270.
just numeric, that's all.
Right.
We already, we're assuming people know, like everywhere else in the world, what road they're on.
Yeah,
We-
see, visitors, we were concerned about that, and that's why.
Yeah.
But you'll also have the physical address on this that the renter is going to see in the house, as long as.
So if they call emergency, then they're gonna have the address of the property here, so this
So that one you want to know if the house number.
registration, it's gotta
That
match.
came to us by, what, the state give you that? Who gave you that format for the thing you put up in the place?
We came up with it
Oh,
ourselves.
that was yours, okay. It's just
We
smart.
looked at them all over,
Yeah, they were
they're
all
all over the country. In fact, there's this webinar that a short-term rental owner does, and then he goes all over the place, and he does these little classes, and one of the things he recommended was this.
Yeah.
And so we took a variety.
Call
and-
911, here's the thing right in front of you to
Yeah,
say.
so we crafted our own for our community based on, and some of them get really elaborate in their trifolds and their,
Yeah, we-
Short and sweet.
Okay.
Yep.
Good, good.
You talked about occupancy. Our town really is here because of the lakes. And most of the short-term rentals, I think, are on the lakes.
some, not all.
Well,
There's so many
okay,
down.
the higher price ones are.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, the town,
But,
we're talking about all Pasico?
No.
Big Pleasant.
Just Lake Pleasant?
Just Lake
The
Pleasant.
town of Lake Pleasant, the village?
The town of Lake
Town of Lake
Pleasant, the
Pleasant.
village
Okay.
has opted not to
They are
join
staying on the
this.
sideline until the state law comes out.
What I was getting at, I was in the contracting business for many years, and I've had homeowners on the lake approach me to dig a trench and put a pipe in from their septic system to the swamp, because it was overflowing when they had too many guests.
Yeah. no, that's exactly
We worked
what
on a house on Lake Pleasant, I'm not gonna mention any names, but the contractor now that is basically the caretaker of that property. He says every weekend the septic tank overflows, and he was wondering if we knew where it was, and nobody knows what it is, what it was, but when the house is with the
Someone called the board
occupancy,
and have to
the
take it
septic
down.
system has to be designed by an engineer.
Right.
And then when it's designed by an engineer for 6 people, and you have 20, because you've got all these roll-out couches and stuff, and it's gonna overload the septic system, it's gonna affect the neighbors, and it's gonna affect the lake.
Yeah, that's why I was curious how the occupancy was determined. I know for a regular house, it's, septic systems based on bedrooms and,
Right.
all that stuff, but,
And that's,
like Laura said.
It'll be a equation similar to that. Sure.
So your goal is to do this registration this September?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have to fill these out now.
No.
September's gonna be.
No, but we can start making,
ramp
we can
up.
start making these available. I do have, so we're gonna change the do not park on roadways, skip the lawns, and garbage. So transfer station is open till 4 o'clock. Okay, see, we've got a thing, please ask your host about pickup days, and we've got these bright yellow and
But
orange
you have
and
to have
nasty
that
colors.
because it does change through the season.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
the,
date's open.
So should it just be Monday through Saturday, and if somebody gets an unpleasant surprise, they can just,
We can also include one of
Check
the
with-
garbage
check with-
collection sheets with
With
the
this-
packet.
That's an idea.
there you
That's
go.
a really good idea.
I took a picture of that at
Good
the post office
thinking.
today, so I remember because I wanted to get them for each of my.
right, it's on
Transfer
the town website.
So we'll leave it Monday through Saturday because that's when the bulk is, but we'll include the garbage when people come to pick this up. Does that, do you think, cure your
Yeah,
problem?
Monday through Saturday.
It's
Not-
smarter.
Not just that,
No, I know,
I
but
was jumping on there, was
because most places have that calendar. I mean, I pick it up for, the friends and neighbors that we keep an eye on, but,
That's a great idea.
Yep.
Whoever
okay,
said that.
so we'll just add that.
For sure.
Okay.
Okay, so, at this time, is there any more questions, any more concerns before we move along? Okay, so, first what I'm gonna do is, we ran late, but it's okay, it was all good conversation, so I'm gonna close, you're moving it, to close the public hearing. Okay, so it's Neil,
I'll second.
Don second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, I'm looking for a motion to approve the short-term rental local law with the couple of changes to the poster.
Well, that's not really part of the law.
Okay, so let's just do the local law. Someone want to move that?
I'll move.
Okay, Rochelle? A second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay. I just want to thank Kathy as the chairman for this committee. And I'm not going to name the members, I did have it written down because I kind of really wanted to give them an attaboy because they worked really hard at this for so many months. But Kathy,
There has been.
yeah.
Yeah, trying to get everybody's 2 cents in.
Just want to say it was a very difficult project, and congratulations on completing it,
Good
Kathy
job.
and committee.
Atta
A
girl.
big thank you to all of you,
Big.
really.
Everybody was great.
Please pass it to all involved.
I will.
Okay, so next, we're going to move on to committee reports. I think we've, no, I have the Pretty Good Band, we're actually tabling that. We won't be discussing that tonight. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night, ladies, thanks for coming.
There's been a change, so I have to wait for them to have their meeting, and then I'll bring it back at the next meeting, so that will be tabled. So next, we will go to committee reports. So we'll start with Kathy. Yeah,
You-
your STR
yeah.
is done.
It is. Does that mean that I get a new, no. Youth rec, those are the two committee, no, cemetery committee.
Yeah, I'd like to just have a cemetery meeting, committee meeting. I don't care, Wednesday, Thursday. Kathy, you said you're available after 3:30.
Yes.
Stephanie, are you
What day,
available?
Wednesday?
Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah, either are fine.
Well, court is Wednesday, right?
Right, but it's at 7.
Okay.
But you would be done before then, right?
Wednesday, 3:30.
Wednesday, 3:30.
Oh, move it to Thursday, I got a dentist appointment.
Thursday. Thursday at 3:30.
You bring her along.
Traveling
I brought my
secretary.
secretary with me.
Be there, be square. Got it.
Anything else, Kathy?
Nope.
Nothing.
Rochelle, anything else?
We covered youth rec. When it comes to the website, Don brought it to my attention that the garbage schedule was posted in 2 different places on the website, and I only realized there was one, so we updated the other one today. So that's all set. All the information's up to date.
Great,
That's it.
good. That's it. Neil?
Nothing beyond what we're covering already. Oh,
Don?
No, my committees are all doing fine.
Okey dokey.
peachy.
So, I'm looking for a motion to pay the bills, all 3 abstracts
So moved.
together. Neil? Second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public comment. I think everybody's probably tired of talking.
Wait, wait, Karen.
Come on, Sharon.
Karen!
Need the evening go by without. I want to thank Randy's crew for doing such a great job on the pathway. They did a wonderful job on the picnic area, which really needed it. They,
I want to make a
what do
comment.
you call it, with the blower
Before we
thing,
got
yeah, I'm a little brain dead right now.
Before we got to the picnic area, it was already cleaned up. Remember you told me that night and I set it up the
Yeah,
next
oh,
morning?
yes, well, but it was done immediately,
Yeah.
right. But they were,
No.
they just did.
But we didn't do it, is what I'm saying.
Oh, you didn't do
The
it?
next morning, it was already cleaned up.
Your husband too.
No.
Somebody did.
Halfway ferries, I
We have
like
pathway
this.
berries at this
It
point.
needed a lot of work. I mean, it needed quite a bit of,
They came back and said, handed me the empty garbage bag and said, this is what we found.
wow. But
And that was
recently,
the very next morning that you told me it needed to be taken care of. But I'll take the condolences back to them.
okay.
Condolences.
But recently, they just went down and did all the leaf blowing.
Yes, they
Because
did do all
mentioned
that.
to me, because he goes down just about every morning.
Yeah.
And he said how it was all blown off and everything, how good
Yes.
it looked, you know, so thank you for taking the time to do that, I appreciate it. He appreciates it.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it because I don't have to hear about it. So,
Anything else, Karen?
no, that's it, thank you.
That's it?
No.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, quick question, the road paving, is that town business? Is that-
State.
is that
State DOT.
Do we know anything about, okay, what do we know? Should I talk
Why
to
do I have a lot of people looking
Should I
at me?
talk to him after this, or?
You were late.
No, go ahead.
What's the question?
Go
I'm
for
just
it.
kind of, the dates are what, supposedly like.
Started today.
Now until till July something, or
Well,
Yeah.
they're
It'll
shooting
be
for
4
3 to
weeks.
4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks?
So if you do the math, it's gonna go through 4th of July weekend.
Wow.
I
But-
heard that they were going to stop
Yes.
over that weekend,
That
right?
is,
But weather
the
is,
governor has a holiday, no working Friday and Monday. So every holiday, there's.
Yeah, we won't be
stop
disturbed then.
Road construction.
Question, how are they going? Are they starting
So
low?
they started south, doing the north lane.
So they'll get up to us right around,
They're gonna go up to Camp in the Woods, turn around and go back down.
they're not going in the center of town?
Nope,
Okay, it stops.
they
at
are
Camp Lewis.
stops at Camp in the Woods.
That's the
You
end of the
see
project?
HIS written right on the road down there?
Yeah.
That's heat in place, or HIP, heat in place, with arrows pointing, that's where they're stopping.
if it,
That was my concern, is that it was all gonna come to a head right during the parade, and
Nope.
we might be limited on traffic.
Nah.
They're not gonna park their equipment down there, are they? Down by the ball field?
I assume not, but I can make that.
That's a
ooh,
good,
I
that's
should
a,
never
Yeah.
that's a
assume.
good entreaty to
Yeah.
do.
That would be a
I would
disaster
bet,
for the
and I'm not
parade.
saying this sarcastically, that the mayor would be on top of that.
Okay,
But I will make a phone call to the state.
You bet.
yeah.
Right, they got 2 parking areas.
If it's raining, can they still do that process where they heat the road?
I do not know.
Okay, so it may slow down with rain this week, and
Paving jobs coming,
I'm
down.
thinking yes,
Yeah.
but
they can, because there was some heavy-duty heat there.
the amount of heat that's coming out of those things.
You gotta drive down and check this out, it's really cool.
As they do it, watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, you just drive by?
Are they scarifying, or are they digging?
No.
no, they're burning the road, they burn
They
it.
have 3 trailers.
Yeah,
The burners are about this high off the ground. Each of those trailers have a propane tank,
yeah.
tanker hooked, and it goes up through and it superheats the whole blacktop.
No
They don't
kidding.
When you get guided by them, you will be 6-7 feet off the shoulder,
Right.
and you will feel it inside your car 20 feet before you get to it.
So the idea is it melts the
It's-
existing road?
It's turning the asphalt back into a liquid.
Right, okay, and then
Like
they
they
can
do
mix
when
it
they
with
put
the
it
new
down.
stuff when they lay it, so
And
it
then
adheres.
it's, right.
And no
So
masks on.
so they're not doing anything with any of the underlying problems that might have caused heaving and stuff like that?
Correct.
Well, in a
Now,
sense,
they already, in the last 4 years, if you see all those cutouts,
Yeah,
quote unquote, it's not my project, addressed those situations.
well, they've addressed it, and that's where it's bad. So,
The old concrete
But
is,
this will leave it as a 6-inch block of asphalt,
okay.
a solid piece, not layers of cracks and splits and cracks and
Right,
splits.
another 1.5 on top,
Right.
final roof.
Okay, good.
Anything else? Okay, so let's go to roundtable. Don,
Nothing for roundtable.
Neil,
I think we covered it.
okay.
This Thursday through Sunday is the annual Hamilton County Birding Festival. We have over 95 registrants right now, and 6 of the 17 countywide walks are in the Lake Pleasant and Speculator area. So hopefully we'll get a lot of people in town this weekend. And also, we are taking applications for the 4th of July parade. I have some copies up here if anybody needs one. I have some copies of the poster. And we are always looking for volunteers. That's all I got.
Kathy? Nothing.
Good for you.
Stephanie?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing. No.
Randy?
We put the pickleball box back at the.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was taking care of it.
Good
Okay,
boy.
good.
And the signs are
Okay.
up?
The signs never were taken down.
Thank you, because there was something on Facebook. Does anybody know when? I'm like, okay, now we can say, go up to the
Go to the
courts.
Is there any status on the other courts on Elm Lake? Is that just all
No.
tabled or? I haven't heard
It,
anything.
it's kind of been pushed back. We're
Okay.
looking for grants and a lot of other stuff, but yes, for the time being, it's.
Mega.
It's gonna be a
holding back.
while.
Okay.
The expenses.
They're gonna have to
I
share.
didn't realize how hard
That's
it is
fine,
to
too.
get somebody, a contractor, which I've contacted a couple too, and some of them said they'll get me quotes just to go file for a grant. This is,
Yeah.
That's what we need
and
first.
I can't get a number out of them, never mind, some of them I can't even get to come up here to give me a number.
Wow, okay.
And it's just like they go to the schools, the colleges, all the big dollars, we don't get any football courts, all the way up here. You usually don't get a return.
Well, and I also think a negative thing, especially with the one company that we met with down there, the highway guys were gonna do a lot of the prep work ahead of time,
Right.
and
We needed them to lay the asphalt.
we think
and
that they
paint
were
it.
turned off
And
by
they
that
said,
because
"No,
it
no, we
cut
want the
their,
whole job."
They want the
profit
big ticket
down.
items, of course.
Right, right.
and we were trying to save taxpayer dollars by doing it ourselves.
And no lead with the tennis association?
I missed the tennis courts there.
It's a
My kids,
lead,
I-
but
You can still go play tennis. They're not
Yeah,
just
it
pickleball.
was
No,
a lead,
but we
but
can
I
make the
had
town
talked to
like
Kelsey because we never heard from the other company, and she was
Oh,
gonna check
oh,
into it,
yeah.
because she's
So
the
you
one
live
that
down
got
this
us
way?
that company.
No, I don't, but we-
And I
we
didn't
go
hear
there.
back from her, so I
There was
think
nobody
that
else there.
the
One
company
of
was
the
turned
courts
off
is still
by,
musical.
we would have
Yeah,
been
look
saving
at it,
a
it's
lot of
not-
money,
Oh,
a lot of money. So then
It's-
Randy checked
got
with
trees.
a couple
It's
more,
cracking quite a bit.
and they're
But
not
if
getting
the
back
other
to
one
us
is-
either, so, yeah, so.
We need some.
Okay, so
Big benefactors.
I do have a few things. I just want to let everybody know that the museum, Chris has been working very hard on a fundraiser. She's received $1,460 in donations already from this new fundraiser she's doing. So right now we're up to $32,586. Chris Meixner is working very hard.
Excuse me, before you go ahead, is there any way we were gonna, for the contact for,
I would say contact Chris Meixner if you would like tickets.
gotcha, that's what.
Yeah, yeah, she's got some tickets that she's selling as a fundraiser.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay.
anyway, okay. We have received our Ags and Market Report, which was done on May 15th for our inspection of our dog shelter. And once again, everything was satisfactory. Everything was good. We have received a thank you from the 4th of July Parade Committee. Thank you for our generous donation. Ken Kurt stopped in to let us know the EMT class was completed last week. Next is the written exam and then the practical exam on June 10th. David Abrahamson is the new board of director. Ken Kurt is the new chief, and Wade Hartman is the vice president. The ARAMS, which stands for Adirondack Appalachian Regional EMS Council, has lots of stuff stored at the office at the Lane Emporium. They have been cleaning it out.
Yeah, not anymore.
They've been cleaning it out, and they're moving equipment from the old firehouse on South Shore Road in there. And they will be renting that office space year-round for storage. Is there anything else you wanted to add that I didn't say? No, please, feel free.
I think that's it, yeah.
Okay. The ambulance corps is still looking for drivers. If you know anybody, please contact Ken. And Ken did have some updates for our website that he had dropped off, and I passed them on to Rochelle, and thank you, you did it right away. So that was updated. Sally Cross was in last week from the Historical Society with good news. They have finally received their 501(c)(3).
Wow,
So that's a really big thing for them. Yes.
Karen.
Yes, Karen, you were big at getting that paperwork in. That's a wonderful thing.
it's important though, you know, if you wanna be able to stand alone and raise money, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Neil and I have been working on the Nathan Latour contract for the clinic. We made some changes. I got it down to the clinic or the hospital yesterday, so they'll be working on our changes, reviewing them. making updates, and hopefully we'll have that completed soon.
I didn't get a call back from Patrice.
No, she's on vacation.
Yeah.
I got a call back from her secretary.
Is that a yearly contract, or is that?
It's going to be,
We're asking for a 2, but it doesn't matter, it's sustaining.
Yeah.
It goes on and on, it's been a yearly contract for 30+ years.
the veterans. We had a service agency up coming to the county 1 day a month up here for 4 hours and 1 day for 4 hours in Indian Lake. Over the years period, they only had 2 people stop in. So I did hang these signs all around town. They will actually be working out of Gloversville again, but there's all the information to call them, to set up appointments, and they will come meet with them. So if anybody knows any veterans that need any kind of assistance or help with programs,
Can I have one?
sure you can. You can get one. Okay. This just came out this week, this newer one. KVS, tomorrow, I have a meeting tomorrow morning at the county building in the treasurer's office with Jody, Josh, and KVS to discuss our new computer system. We had budgeted for that last year, so hopefully we'll get that going. Just want to mention the golf course building looks great. What a nice improvement to that. And I also wanted to mention a thank you to Kathy, who had the school children up at the cemeteries putting the flags up for Veterans Day.
6th grade does that.
That was really nice. And I did take pictures. I didn't post anything, but if anybody wants to see the pictures, I have them on my camera. And I wanted to thank Bill McGuire, who sets this up, and we all go around to all the cemeteries and get the flags up in time. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, the 20th, because Monday is a holiday. It's Juneteenth. So at 7 p.m. here at the library, and I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I think I can do that.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
So looking forward to Juneteenth.
So what are you doing? Shall we,
Gentlemen.
No, I do that all the time.
Okay, Nancy that was sitting next to Lisa Swift, what is her last name? Does anyone know?
Carr, C-A-R-R.